to be at school ready to learn, and another girl that Kimberly was friends with said that she was sometimes the kind of person that was a little hard to get along with, but once you did, you would grow to love her. And I really understand that. I moved a lot when I was a kid, so I kind of had these walls up, and once you got past them, it was a different story. But I had moved so much that I was just afraid to get attached to people. So I'm not saying I know what Kimberly was feeling. I'm just saying I can kind of sympathize a little. So Laura Michaels, Kimberly's foster mom, last saw Kimberly on the night of September 29th, 2003. Apparently, and I was kind of sad about this fact, but it wasn't terribly uncommon for Kimberly to run away for a few days, and she'd done it enough that the family did not get immediately worried. But Kimberly always returned. Sadly, that was not the case this time around. So in the Michaels household, Kimberly had a foster sister named Heather. She and Kimberly were not exactly what you call friends. In fact, they bickered pretty constantly. But when Kim still hadn't returned home 9 days later, Heather was pretty upset. It was becoming clear to her and her parents that this disappearance might be different than the others, and that there might be real cause for concern. On October the 8th, a couple on their boat found Kimberly's body floating in the Atlantic Ocean, 4 miles off the coast of Cape May, New Jersey. And if you're not sure of the distance, this is about 64 miles away from Dover, Delaware. Kimberly wasn't just floating there deceased, she was bound in duct tape, and she had a chain wrapped around her feet. This led investigators to assume the worst. An autopsy was performed, and it confirmed that she had fractures at the base of her skull. The medical examiner theorized that it might have been caused from a fall from a great height. And the cops really wondered how she could have received such an injury in the ocean. She was identified using her fingerprints, which led the authorities back to Delaware. Heather was really worried about Kimberly, and she had been watching the news, and she saw on the news that the body had been found, and after hearing this, she was just really, really upset, and she calls her boyfriend of 2 years. His name is Jacob Jones, and he's 19. Heather says, when he didn't pick up, I left a voicemail explaining what had happened, and then I sent him a few text messages knowing that he always has his cell phone on him. I couldn't believe it when he didn't respond. It was so unlike him. The next day, Heather still was not able to reach Jacob, so she drives to his house, and when he comes to the door, she's like, "Hey, didn't you get any of my messages?" And he said, "Well, yeah, but do we really have to talk about it?" After a very stilted conversation, pretty much awkward silence, Jacob gives Heather a hug and a kiss, and basically shuts the door in her face. Heather says, "I was shocked and hurt, but at the time I assumed that he was being so cold because he had disliked Kim so much." In fact, Jacob was described as hating her to the point where he refused to come to Heather's house when Kimberly was at home. Now, exactly how Jacob felt about Kimberly would become a Chevrolet Lumina. Police say that Jacob bought the chain and the cinder blocks from the store the very next day. After wrapping Kim's body in the materials that he bought, he chartered a small plane from the local airport, and he flew out over the Atlantic to dump her body. There are records of him taking off at around 11:45 p.m. September 30th and returning around 1 a.m. on October 1st. He hoped to sink the remains using the chain and the cinder blocks, but authorities believe that the cinder blocks shattered upon impact with the water. Police also found a receipt from that motel dated September 30th in Jacob's dorm room. No one really knows for sure why Jacob did this. Since both he and Kim are deceased, there's really no way to verify that they had an ongoing relationship, like Kim told Michael in the car. And Michael has maintained that he doesn't know why Jacob did this to Kim. As for Heather, she doesn't believe they were ever together. She heard the rumors, but she said there's just no way. Heather believes that Jacob got rid of Kim in the misguided belief that it would make Heather happy. Because remember, they fought all the time. And Heather said that she was always telling him how Kim made her life miserable. But criminal experts say that it's pretty rare for someone to commit murder just for someone else's benefit. They said that Jacob must have had hidden violent impulses and a motive that led him to kill her. He may have been excited by the challenge of getting away with murder, even. Or, if they were in some type of sexual relationship, it's possible that he may have just wanted to cover it up. Michael also tried to commit suicide with his shoelaces while in prison just after his arrest, but he did survive. He was offered a plea deal, but he turned it down and he opted to go to trial instead. And there, he was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy. I tried to smush them together. Conspiracy to commit murder in November of 2004. And he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Per prison records, Michael remains incarcerated at the James T. Vaughn Correctional Center in Smyrna, Delaware. Not sure if I said that right. Now, as per usual, when I was researching this case, I came upon some information that really didn't fit all of the other information I had about this case, but I do want to include it, really, because I'm not 100% sure what to think about it, and I want to see what you guys think. So, I found one article, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, according to Delaware family court records, state police charged Kimberly's guardian, Rudolph, on September 19th with misdemeanor third-degree unlawful sexual contact. He pled innocent on September 29th, which is the day she went missing, and faces a preliminary hearing on October 23rd in Kent County Family reported Kimberly missing the morning of September 30th. Dover High School principal Robert D. Adams said Kimberly, an 11th grade special education student, left school on September 29th. He said he was then told that there would be a change in her living arrangements, but that he didn't know what the change was going to be. He described Kimberly as a nice kid who was doing pretty well in school, and she was on track to graduate. She had a scrape or two, but nothing major, he said. Now, I thought it was really strange because that article had different names for her parents that she was living with than I found in every other article, and there's probably, 10 or 15 of them. They were close. They were close names, but they weren't the same. So I don't know if names were changed for privacy reasons, and that is their real names. But even then, okay. So let's factor this in. Let's say she was sleeping and this man touched her inappropriately on September 4th. That is really quick to me, in my opinion, for him to go to court for this. If it was reported on September 4th and then on September 29th he was already in court for this, I feel like that's really fast. Now maybe not. I don't really know how that works, as it's never happened to me. But for her to then go missing that night after they'd gone to court for all this and she was about to be moved to another household, I found that kind of odd, and that's why I wanted to include it, because it seems to me that is a completely different case. She's being moved, she doesn't want to be moved, so she runs away and goes missing. But that's not what happened here. What happened here is her foster sister's boyfriend killed her. And I really don't have any explanation as to why he would have done that. Hypothetically, let's just pretend for a second they were having a relationship. I think that maybe Heather didn't believe it because no one really wants to believe that their boyfriend is cheating on them, especially when he's now deceased. But, maybe they teased each other so mercilessly because there was relationship. Why did she go to the hotel room with him? Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. If they were fighting all the time and they basically hated each other and he called her up and said, meet me in this hotel room, why would she go if they weren't having some kind of affair behind Heather's back? Because I sure wouldn't, especially that late at night. I'd be like, no, dude, nope, no. And he must have had her phone number to contact her if that was the case. There's just too many twists and turns in this case. Even though it's solved, for me to give you a definitive rundown of what happened. So, tell me in the comments below, do you think they were having an affair and Jacob killed her because he didn't want to get caught? Or do you think that he did it so he could make his girlfriend Heather happy? And what do you think about those miscellaneous charges as far as the foster father? Do you think she went to Jacob for help and that's how she ended up in his hotel room? And if so, why would she choose Jacob to find her a new place to live? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't know, I do have a Patreon that you can join. It is as low as $2 a month, and I do at least one video a week over there, so you get 4 to 5 videos a